thank you for joining us, my friend. And we want to get more into your story here because 4 of you saw something. Where did it happen and what did you see?
Correct. So, like I said, it was in Kansas, and I kind of explained a little bit about the reason where we don't get too particular, but in Kansas, and it's the normal Kansas you think of, right? Flat farm fields in the summer. And as we get up to it, there were lights. I'm not going to describe the lights right now. Some of the alphabet agencies have not threatened. I want to be very careful what I say here, but asked me to keep some information. National security, right? We all love that word. So, with that said, what I'll do is I'll refer to Tim Phillips, who has kind of spilled the beans on some of the things. He described some of the information I turned in as a F-117 on steroids. So, when you think of a triangle, it's not an exact triangle, right? There's another little triangle that comes out where the tail fin is. If you've ever seen the bottom of one, or you can Google it and look it up. And it's not the flat triangle we keep hearing about, right? So you've got an actual body, an actual craft on top. So this is a little bit different than the normal, I think, what we're hearing about the black triangles. Although if you didn't get to see the top and you only saw it from the bottom, I think you very likely could say the exact same thing.
Was it fighter jet size?
It's exactly how I would describe it. Yeah. If you listen to some of the Fravor interviews, and I feel bad for the guy, and he complains a little bit about it. It's literally the same interview over and over and over. I don't know how many hundreds of times he's done the exact same interview with the exact same questions, but there was one that came out that had one different question in it, and they asked him about the size, and that's how he described the Tic Tac. Now, this isn't exactly the Tic Tac, but fighter jet size, 40 footish in length, and that's exactly what I would say this was. Keep in mind that's not a Super Hornet, that's a smaller fighter jet size, but still fighter jet size.
Yeah, I mean, Super Hornet is, I believe, 47 and a half feet or something like that. So
it may be 60 or 70. That thing's a boat, but the point being, it's
yeah.
If you saw it and you saw the build of it, you'd still say that's a fighter jet, right?
Right. Did it make any sound?
When you finally get up to it and you've got the windows down, there is a slight sort of buzz or humming, but it's not like what a craft should be doing or making, right? One of the questions you get asked when you go in and you have to meet with all these intelligence agencies is they'll say, well, how loud was the noise? And I keep trying to explain to them, like, quiet, really, really quiet. And, they keep wanting to compare it to like, a fighter jet that can throw its thrusters down. And it's like, how do you know it wasn't that? And it's like, are you kidding me, man? It would have blew my beard off and, the ground would have been rumbling. So completely different than that. Just a very slight sort of buzz. If you're an electricity person, and most people aren't, but if you really want to dig into this, you could probably go to YouTube and look up the terms arcing or corona. Make sure you put electricity on that, and you'll come up with something else. But listen to that, and that's kind of what it sounds like. If you've also, or if you know what a dry transformer is, if you're ever in a building in the back, usually, I don't know about necessarily Canada, but in the U.S., they're almost always green. It's kind of a rectangle attached to the floor. Sometimes you'll have yellow bars around it. And that's where a bunch of your power's at. If you stand next to it and it's quiet and you listen to its hum, the electricity, that's kind of what it is. It's something so simple like that.
Was it moving or was it hovering?
So it was hovering. However, it's not like a statue up on a concrete post. There still is some movement within the hovering, be it slight, but it's not, something like people really start telling stories about like how this must be alien technology because it wasn't moving completely still. It was darn near completely still, but from that close a range, you still have some movement. I don't want to say wobble, that's too much, but it's still working on hovering, you know what I mean?
No, I get that. And I'm not going to ask you about the lighting because you've already stated that you've been asked to keep that a little bit quiet. But why are you not allowed to talk about the lighting? Let me ask you that.
Sure. So, and again, I'm just here to tell the truth, and sometimes people don't like that, but when you get into, let's kind of back up a little bit here if we can. The saucers, right? We all know UFOs are saucers, but then if you start researching that story, I know some people disagree on it, but back at the original story, my understanding was the guy said it moved like a saucer, not it was shaped like a saucer. I think he said it was more like bat wings, but the newspaper said it was a saucer, and then everybody saw saucers. So then you get the Tic Tac, and I didn't hear about a whole lot of people seeing Tic Tacs, and then all of a sudden I heard about all these people that saw Tic Tacs. Now maybe they felt comfortable coming out, but various intelligence agencies and even myself, when people talk to me, I have to know what a credible witness is and what a credible witness isn't. And the lights are a big key if you can or can't describe the pattern or the shape or the size. If you can, then we kind of know, like, boy, this person's seen something, and the intelligence agencies are doing the same thing. So it's not
I
that you
understand.
can't know, it just really helps get on our side to the end of it. Am I talking to someone that's seen something? I know what it is, or doesn't mean you didn't see something, but it may mean you've seen something I know nothing about.
Okay, so you're looking at this craft. I'm going to assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, it happened at night.
Yeah, early hours of the morning, it's still dark.
Oh, okay, so you have this thing. How long was your experience for?
When we pulled up, one of the first things I did was position our vehicle headlights at it and turn the brights on. And the brights did not illuminate it like they should have. So what should have happened is it should have really lit up, right? You're adding a bunch more light. Instead, it was almost like the particular craft, the skin of the craft. It's not exactly how I would describe it, but the material of the craft kind of absorbed it. So the best way I can describe it is, now keep in mind we've got fancy LED light bulbs and stuff, but if you're in listen to this and you're a little bit older, back in the day of school, right? You'd have a desk and you may have like a 10 or a 15-watt little light bulb screwed in. And in the middle of the night, if you turn it on, it's bright right under it. By the time you get to the end of your desk, it's complete darkness. And that's kind of the same thing it did with the brights, right? Where the brights were shining on it, but it just didn't spread from there. It was like it was being absorbed. So again, you're looking for answers, and this is everything I'm seeing is like, okay, this is just getting more and more confusing. But we ended up, when we finally got out of the car, again, I'm very calculated. So I'm thinking about my safety. I'm listening. And even though this may sound a little odd, I didn't feel like there was a danger. Like it wasn't smoking, there wasn't flames coming out of the back of it where I thought, oh, this thing's going to crash or blow up. It was like, okay, we've been sitting here and it's sitting there. Like, I mean, eventually you got to go for it, right? So when we got out, we had about 10 minutes out outside with it.